Our speaker today is Dr. Mary Helen Hensley, #1 best-selling author, international speaker, and metaphysical healer. Her latest book, Understanding is the New Healing, is currently launching. By profession, Mary Helen is a doctor of chiropractic, and worthy though that profession is, in this case it might actually belie the true depth of the services that she performs for her clients. Following a near-death experience during a 75-mile-per-hour car crash, Mary Helen returned from the other side with the ability to communicate with spirit, with a razor-sharp medical intuition, and the ability to facilitate healing, and I can vouch for that one personally. She comes to us today from Athlone, Ireland, in beautiful County Westmeath. But didn't she be expecting too much of an Irish accent then? She grew up in Martinsville, Virginia. Mary Helen's also heavily involved with the Signs Music Project to create a mapping of acoustic frequency to the human body and psyche. So please welcome our good friend, Dr. Mary Helen Hensley.
I would have just sat and listened to you talk all day. Oh gosh, it is so wonderful to be back here. It's like being home again and with family and so many wonderful faces, and some of you have seen over the course of the weekend. Cheryl, when we were having that discussion yesterday about what was I going to talk about and what were you going to play, that was it. That was amazing. Do you ever hear that piece of music that just lifts you from inside, and you're like, what was that tone? What was it? That's mine. That's my tone. And it just makes you feel like you're just going to explode with joy inside and out. That was it. Thank you so much. And thanks to all of you for having us here. I'm so thrilled to have my mom, Mama Helen, who's on tour with me, and she just turned 90 years young and is just amazing in every way, shape, and form. And it is such an honor to be driving and rocking down the highway and to look over and to see her sitting there. And I have my two daughters here who are with Allison Ray this morning, and they were up all night making jewelry. And so they didn't come with us this morning, but that's okay. They're allowed a little lie-in, but they send their regards and say hello. So when Cheryl and I were having this discussion yesterday, I know it has always unnerved my mother, and she's like, "Are you prepared for tomorrow? What are you speaking about?" I don't know. And that's because that's how I've always spoken. And they've never let me down yet. And so I'm hoping they're not going to start today. When we were driving down the road from the Wyndham on the other end, I said to Mom, "Mom, just pull the book out there for a second." And I said, "Just flick back to one of the chapters towards the end called Grace as Opportunity." And I said, "Just read that for me, because I'm starting to feel that this morning." And so she pulls out Understanding is the New Healing, which we launched at the ARE this weekend. And what a place to do it, and what a pleasure. And it's so great to see my publisher and my agent, Lisa, sitting there. And so she pulls the book out, and she starts reading, and she's a couple of sentences in, and I said, I'm good, that's it. And so the opening of this chapter starts talking about the box. It just got my attention one day that I needed to discuss the box, because we like talking about the box, and I am just as guilty about it as anybody else. And we talk about those who are in the box and those who are out of the box, right? And I would say, if I took a head count right now, the vast majority of us in here would throw our hand up and say we are out of the box. And the reason that I decided to open this chapter with this and discuss this was because the box can be an interesting thing, and we can get all spiritual, and we can get all up on our evolution, and we like to declare ourselves as outside of the box. And suddenly, when we do that, we create this hierarchy. And there's this box, and there's this box, and they're in that box, meaning I'm outside of the box. And sometimes we say that with just a little tone of ego and superiority. Anybody ever done that? I know I have. And so I thought, I need to address this. And so that's how this chapter of Grace as Opportunity began, talking about the box. and how some of the greatest lessons I have ever learned in my life happened because of the boxes. And if those boxes weren't present, and if we didn't have this person or this group over here who was extremely stuck in their box politically, or this box over here, all about religion, or this box over here, how I should raise my children, and the list goes on, and there's all these boxes upon boxes. And we look at those and we go, I don't want to be in the box. Because somehow we think that we're better or more evolved if we have found our way outside of said box. And what I would like to challenge you to think about is the fact that Earth School, what we're doing here, this beautiful dichotomy of simultaneous dark and light, it's all about the boxes, right? So you know when you're in the flow and you know you're just right where you're supposed to be and thinking what you're supposed to be thinking in that moment for wherever you're headed next. Mom and I are driving down the road. Validate this for me, because people think I make stuff up sometimes. And we get to an intersection on that road coming down here, and what does the sign say? What did it say, Mom? Do you remember? Don't block the box. And I went, that's what I'm talking about this morning, Mom. Blocking the box. And so the reason that I wrote this book, Understanding is the New Healing, I wanted to discuss some things that had happened for me, just very briefly. For those of you who don't know me, I think most of you in here do at this stage, because I've spoken here before. And I explained that in 1991, I was in Charleston, South Carolina, and I was hit in a 75-mile-per-hour collision, knocked out of the body, freshly dead. I'm looking back and seeing, oh, wow, this isn't what I thought it was. And so my entire paradigm shifts, and everything being raised, in the South here as a minister's daughter, everything just went, ooh, hang on a second. That doesn't fit in my box. My box got bigger. It collapsed, it expanded, and suddenly I had to literally reinvent myself. Because the things that I had been taught to believe, because my own parents, they had grown up with their box, and what they instilled in me was their foundation, their beliefs, and some of those things were absolutely wonderful, like community and a sense of belonging and a sense of coming in this, and people can just dismiss, oh, it's a church, I'm not going there because I'm not religious. And they cheat themselves out of that sense of community. And how wonderful that gift was. And I wouldn't have gotten that gift if I hadn't been in that box at that time. And so I'm very grateful for that box. But then you die, and you jump outside of that box and your body simultaneously, and you realize, oh, there's a lot more going on here. And my very dear friend PMH is sitting over there, and there's an image that she projected, oh gosh, 2 or 3 years ago, I guess. Remember when we were speaking at the ARE, and it was yourself, myself, Neil Donald Walsh was there. It was a good crowd. And she was talking about children who had had near-death experiences. And you know that moment when you see an image and you went, oh, there it is. I've been trying to talk about this, write about this, verbalize this, and there it is in a picture that a 5-year-old drew. And I'll never, ever forget it, because it was this little light source, this little box of light. Do you remember? And he was trying to describe what the other side looked like. And there was this really small box of light, and it projected outwards, and then there was all of this. And what the child was trying to say was, here we are with our thought processes and our beliefs and our boxes, and it's so much bigger. And that was how he chose to show what he was feeling inside and what he had experienced when he left his body, experienced what's out there, and came back in. It was the little box. And I will never forget that picture, because it's just so adequate and so perfect for describing what I'm trying to say. And so, don't block the box. I think I'm going to have to write a new book about that, because that was just perfect. And in that moment, and Mom and I are talking away, and there she is, and the air condition was on, it was sunny outside, and there were show tunes on the radio, and it was just perfectly perfect. And the sign appears. Don't block the box. So I think what's really important to remember today is that when we're being ourselves and when we're communicating with other people and when we're interacting and we're having that amazing synergistic exchange, because isn't that what it's all about? I didn't sign up to come here for everybody to agree with me. Can you imagine what that world would look like? Ooh, I love a challenge. I need something that keeps me stimulated. And if everybody was thinking the exact same way that I was, I believe I'd take the next bus out of here. Because what happens with our boxes and our stories that we keep in these boxes is that we create these little perfect packets of what our experiences here as travelers in the earth plane have been. And we create the box. And there's this box that belongs to you, and there's this box that belongs to you. And it's interesting that when I share something from my box with you, and you maybe share something out of your box with me, we sit there and we go, how does that make me feel? Does that gel with what I believe? Does that make me feel good inside? Does that make me feel like I'm contracting and I don't feel so good? What do I feel about what's inside of your box? And that I have the freedom, and that I have the free will, and I have the wherewithal to be able to sit outside of all of the boxes in my own little box and discern what works for me and what doesn't. What a gift that is. What an absolute gift. And we take for granted, there was the prayer just said there for the people who were basically locked in a box. And it breaks hearts, and then there's people who would get their cockles up because politically they believe that what we're doing is this and that. And we all have our opinions about what's going on and what has to go on. And depending on what box you're in at the time, you could hear that and your heart could break, or you could go, this is necessary to get to the next step. And which one of those is right? All of them and none of them. Because the way I'm going to view that information is through my humanity and through my heart. Would I like to be in that particular box? No. So being outside of that box, do I feel like it's my responsibility to assist those who are in it? Absolutely. Can I change that box? Yeah, by my actions, by my thoughts. Going on the rampage and becoming terribly, terribly upset because that's happening, but not doing anything to actually go and assist those who have chosen that box. That's where the problem is. Because something that I was speaking about yesterday, when people go, I would never, ever, ever have chosen those circumstances. And I just start laughing. And I go, yeah, but you did, actually. And you chose the people that you're going through that with. You chose that difficulty. You chose that hardship. You chose that laughter. You chose that joy. You chose all of it. You just can't remember it. And I use the metaphor of the Monopoly board, another game in a box. And when you open that Monopoly game, you know that the paper money that's in there isn't real. It couldn't buy you groceries. And the little plastic houses, you couldn't set up shop in there. You couldn't live in them. And you don't travel around Park Avenue in a silver shoe. But what you do agree to when you open that box is to play the game, because there's something in there. And some of my greatest memories as a child are on a stormy afternoon, when we should have been outside playing in the summertime and in the heat and the sunshine, but that big storm rolled in. And I remember I would get so excited because it meant the Monopoly board was coming out. And all the neighborhood kids would be in our basement. And we could be in there for hours upon hours. And cracking open that box and having everybody reach in and decide. I was always the dog. I loved the little dog. My brother was always the shoe. And the memories of that. And that we suspended reality for those few hours. And we jumped right inside of that box. And we played, and we traded properties, and we became moguls, and we were sometimes ruthless and awful. And I would stash money under the board. I would hide it. I was that kid who would leave a couple of Christmas presents aside so that when my brother finished, I could whip them out and go, I'm not done yet. Those are such great memories. But the Monopoly board scenario is such a wonderful thing because we had such pleasure and we interacted with one another and we were learning how to play. And we were also learning how to cheat, and we were also learning how to tell lies, and we were also learning how to be kind. Oh, are you short a little cash? I'll share some of mine with you. Here, take $500, it's pink. And we were learning and growing within that box, right? And so what I'm saying to you today is don't be so quick to judge the box, and don't be so quick to wear the badge of the person who's outside of the box. Because even though you might think you're outside of the box, you're in some box somewhere, or you wouldn't be here. This place is all about the boxes, and thank heavens for them. So try to lay aside the judgment. We've all got our stuff going on. Some of us, we had major upset the other day about a question that was asked in the ARE about politics, and I tried to answer that to the best of my ability, and some people got their cockles up and other people were right there, and it's interesting to watch the energy change. I'm like, it's just a box. It's just a game. Where are you in that box? What are you doing for your personal growth inside of that box? And so you can cheat yourself of the opportunity to learn from the box, or you can say, I'm so far out of that box that I'm not even going to pay attention to it, and you've missed a great opportunity. And so that's why I love that whole box scenario. And I thought, gosh, don't block the box. Because we get so high and mighty sometimes, and we think we are so spiritually involved, and we're like, and guess what? Oh, I'm not coming back here. I dare one of you to say it to me. I'll be like, you're the first one coming back. I love when somebody says that. But it's all a game of boxes. So don't get in your way and don't block your box. Because the whole point being is wherever you are right now in your personal growth and evolution, wherever you sit right here in this moment, you probably weren't always here, were you? Can anyone put their hand up and say, I've actually grown and evolved to where I am right now? Yeah, me, I'll put all my feet up, everything. And that's because you stepped out of one box that was there for you. You learned, you grew, you expanded, and as you built that spiritual muscle, the box collapsed. But guess what? Just like a little turtle, there was another shell down the road, a little snail, there was another shell down the road. And you went and you put yourself in another box, a new box, an expanded box. And I'll give you a classic example of how that works. Was anybody in here ever a smoker in their day? Anybody ever a smoker? Anybody ever a heavy drinker and you gave it up? Huh? There's all sorts of people out there who are, pick your poison. And one of the most interesting boxes for me is someone who used to be something, who collapsed that box and now they're in a different box, which means they no longer give attention to that addiction. Personally. But externally, what they do is they will persecute the pants off of you because you're now doing it. Has anyone ever met anybody like that? Yeah. Isn't that fun to be on the receiving end of that? Of a reformed smoker, reformed alcoholic, reformed anything? And so what happens is somebody has come out of the one box and they've moved into the next box. And suddenly this box is bad, bad, bad. Rather than something that just allowed them to grow and expand and move forward. So I'm here to say to you today, don't block your box. All of the boxes are good, even the bad ones. And so as I kick off this weekend and launching this book, Understanding is the New Healing, the whole point behind what I was doing is writing different stories. These are different people's stories. These are their boxes. And the whole idea is for you to be able to come in from the outside in, from wherever you are in your box, and to step inside of somebody else's box and see if there's a gift in there for you. You can judge it if you want to. You can poo-poo it if you want to. You can go, oh, yes, this is perfect. This is so congruent with where I am right now. But I ask you to ask yourself, were you always like that? And if you're being kind of hard on anybody in your life right now, or if you're isolating or alienating yourself from other people because they don't think like you wherever you are inside your precious box, take ownership and accountability for the fact that you aren't always as smart as you think you are right now. And rather than putting someone down who is working from this box, from this paradigm, reach outside and give them a hand from your box and allow them to try on whatever's in there and see if it works for them. And if it doesn't, put yourself in their shoes, because I guarantee every single person sitting in here has been in a situation where someone offered them a new piece of information, a new way of seeing the world, and one of two things happened. It either fit or it didn't. And that's when you have a choice to make. And it doesn't mean that you bash and berate this person in their box. It means you thank them for what they had to offer. And you can either flush the information down the proverbial toilet, or you can take it and you can use it and add it into your little toolbox and grow and expand from it. And pretty much every box has an opportunity to present, even if it's something that's not congruent with the way you're currently thinking. And so by sharing all of these stories and understanding is the new healing, what I wanted to do was give people the opportunity to have a peek inside of all of these different boxes, all of these different challenges that people are going through in their lives right now, and how they got out. Because some of them are, we've got cancer in there, we've got visits from extraterrestrials, we've got people who have lost everything that they have, people who are struggling with addiction, people who are addicts, people who haven't been good parents, people who are sex offenders. There's every story, every box under the sun is in this book. And what I have tried to do is present it in such a way that no matter how scary, how freaky, how horrible, whatever you might perceive what's inside that box to be, that there's a nugget in there. It's all about finding the nuggets. So don't block the box. And be sure that when you're sharing what's inside of your box with everybody around you, that you are always mindful and respectful of how you would like something to be shared with you. If you are currently in a way of being, in a state of being, in a way of thinking, how would you feel if somebody came in and made you completely and utterly wrong? It's the ultimate parenting task. And my daughter reminds me every single day. Seriously, that's all she has to say. But I think you should wear this. Why? I don't know, because I dressed like that when I was 18. We're going to a book launch. Why? Well, she's in this box right now where she's rocking out with the black and the chains and the little nose ring. And, she's waiting for a reaction. And I'm like, I think you look great. And that really upsets her. So my answer, because I would have been raised where, you're going to a book launch or you're going to a church service or whatever you're doing, and, there's a decorum. You wear a certain thing. You do this. And that worked for me sometimes, and then sometimes it didn't. And then as a parent, I stand now and I look at her, and my question is, are you comfortable? Do you feel good? How are you feeling in that over there? I think I look amazing. I said, then go for it. Rock it. Do you know? I might not necessarily be in that box, but I can look from outside that box in and go, I see where you are. I see you. And whether you have a chain hanging here and a little nose ring in here and the fronts of your hair are pink, doesn't mean that my launch or my interaction with the people of that is going to go any differently. So what am I worried about? You go play. Go have fun in that box. And I'm going to be over here in my box signing some books. And we make things so complicated when people don't fit in those boxes and they're not doing things the way that we think they should do them. It's all about the box. Don't block the box. So I'm going to say thank you, and I am so happy to be here. And, for me, every day is stepping outside into a new box And I look around at this place and the joy that it gives me to be in here, and the faces that I see, and the new faces, and I'm sitting there wondering, what are you thinking? You know, especially the new people who've never been here, and you walk in here, you're walking into a new box. Isn't it pretty? And I'm dying to know what you think. And it might fit with where you are in your life, and it might not, but isn't it great to have the choice? So I thank you for stepping inside of my box this morning and allowing me to be here. And as always, I just think what you're doing here is beyond marvelous. It's just so important, the space that you're holding in this little corner of the planet, because it's being felt. It's vibing. I love that thing painted all over Virginia Beach. Vibe. It's everywhere you look. It's perfect. Yes. So thank you for what you are doing here. It's mattering. It counts. And we can feel it across the world. So thanks very much.